I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Julpy and Ghosty. I was in the comment section looking for what we could do for a song for Slipknot. And so I noticed that Critical Darling was asked for a lot, so that's why we're doing it. I also saw somebody say, look at Sori's chubby, cute little cheeks. And then somebody else was like, Sori need diet. So, look how blurry it is.
It'll refocus in time. You need a diet.
Thank you for that.
Sori needs a diet. Yo.
So to some the cheeks are cute, and to others I need a diet.
Well, it is what it is. What's your excuse? Hit the gym.
I do hit the gym. Obviously not hard enough. Okay, there's a couple ways if you want to get your song reacted to. One of them is like how this one came up. You go in the comment section and you just say, hey, and basically I pick it by which one I see the most, by the most like different people asking. Also, you can work with a different like little team of people by jumping on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you can say, hey, let's get this song reacted to, and you work with your crew and it can get onto our list that way. If you don't want to wait for people and you don't want to
cut in line.
No, you just want your song reacted to, but you don't want to wait
before everybody else. That's called cutting in line.
No, it's not. It's called you worked your ass off at your job and you want to get some joy from your labor. So you jumped onto the $125 tier, unless of course if you've been grandfathered in, and you can get your song reacted to that way.
If you had 3 previous $75 thingamajiggies, if you've ever had 3 $75 thingamajiggies lifetime, you get grandfathered in at the $75
You
rate.
partnered with us while we were small, then we'll stick with you.
All right.
Ready?
This is, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Yeah. What?
Doom.
Oh,
Doom,
God.
I say. All right, you ready? Critical Darling Slipknot, let's go.
And go. And you're in trouble now.
one. Shh.
Oh, that makes me nervous. That's got to be the lead into a liar's funeral.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think somebody was saying in the comment section, Bahal, that he was going through a divorce or whatever.
Oh, when he wrote that?
Well,
when he wrote this?
During that time or reflecting on it or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was seeing in a lot of the comments. We do check the comment sections a lot, ladies and gentlemen, and we do respond. It's just it's not like Bahal, where if it's like, one or two off or whatever.
Well, yeah.
So this might be about, like, the first half I was like, but the second half it kind of looks like this is about the relationship and the girl was too critical, I think.
Oh.
Is,
See,
critical.
when it said you're so critical, I didn't
so
know
critical, darling.
which type of critical it was. Like, is she like a critical person? Or is it that, like, there's something about their relationship that she brings to the table that's very critical? You know what I mean? Like, as in...
Oh.
You know,
right.
like, you're the type of person where someone has to walk on eggshells type of idea, like...
What? No, keep going, because I'm looking at the lyrics. Because critical... Remember we were listening to that guy, and he was like, they came from the marriage conference, and she was like, what do you think of me? And he goes, you're critical.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, like, what do you mean? And he's
Yeah.
like, I couldn't live without you. You're critical to my life, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a good save on his part.
You thought that was a save?
100%. I think he was trying to be honest with her for 1 second, and then it was too much.
Oh, really?
That's what I think.
Gosh, okay. First of all...
What did you think the song was about?
First of all, before we get into the lyrics, so the middle part where he was talking about, like, there can't be a hell or heaven if there's a hell, or that part.
Yeah.
That part was, like, a little bit weird musically, like,
we
the
tell
way he sang
ourselves
it and
it can't
stuff.
be hell if there's no heaven. That's
Yeah,
the
that
line.
part was kind of like, but then it would, like, get into those heavy parts. I loved those heavy parts. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it's the immature side of me, or maybe it's just something deep in my soul. But that, when Slipknot gets heavy, like, I love it every time like it's the first time.
There's nobody that can do it like them because of the what they do with their percussion instruments, and just the
way that
I feel like they've mastered that sound,
Yes.
And that's why it always translates so well live, because they have a heavy emphasis on the percussion segment in their band. So, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I love that, the heaviness. Honestly, when it was talking, I actually thought it was talking about some sort of, like, religion.
Well, yeah, he talks about God, heaven, hell, redemption, those types of things. But
God's in a coma. Put faith in a life support.
Yeah.
Running away won't feel the same if you reach your metaphysical last resort. I felt like that was, like, sounded really cool, but I got lost in the understanding of those lyrics.
Yeah.
What did it mean? I was like, Vin can explain this to me.
Well, again, it starts off like kind of meta, big picture, God, heaven, hell, purgatory, but then it looks like it goes into like I said, the first half of the song I was like, okay, but when he started saying, "You're so critical, darling," yada, 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 I went back and reread the lyrics as the song was going on through the prism of a relationship that's broken or pretty much irreparable.
Yeah, and
Which
I just
then
thought it was Christian people or like the religion. You're so critical, you know.
Yeah, but it explains lines like, "We lie and say it's too late for redemption. And we tell ourselves it can't be helped, there's no heaven." In the sense of saying, like, when people want out of a relationship, they say, "Oh, it's irreparable."
Yep.
You know, I was in a relationship with somebody who, like, for years was trying to sabotage and end the relationship. They'd be like, "Oh, it's over, it's over, it's over." And I would be like, "No, it's not over." And so the other person was like, no, it's impossible. I did X, Y, and Z thing. It's impossible. We can't make it." And I'm like, no, we can make it.
You know what's weird about that thought? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
What's weird about that thought is like, well, we're watching that show, and you can tell that girl does not want to be with that guy, and she
Correct.
keeps trying to.
Correct.
Why doesn't she just say, "That's it, goodbye"?
Right.
Like, why do you need the other person to say, "Yep, you're too old for me, goodbye"?
Yeah.
You know, why do you need the other
Yeah.
person if you can see this is not what you're looking
Well,
for?
I think in that lady, like, she doesn't, like, to leave him. So we're watching this show. We're not going to tell you the name of the show, although some of you might know it, but I really don't want any spoilers, so we'll probably do a
I
marathon.
feel like that is not a popular show for this channel.
Yeah. But anyway,
It's a Sori pick.
they meet in this thing, and they
They
it's
can't
like
see each other.
These pods, they can't see each other. So the idea is like you fall in love with the person emotionally before you see what they look like, and yada yada yada. And a couple of the couples are doing really well, but there's this one couple and then there's this guy. He's like a frat boy type guy. He's like 6'3". You know, I think he's a good looking guy. So he's like,
I mean, is it this?
and so he's a guy that, like, everybody likes, and it came down to two girls. One of them was 33, one of them was his age, so he picked the younger one, and then the 33-year-old was like, "Oh my God, how could you do this to me?" Yada yada yada. And then we'll talk about that off camera. So anyway, she goes, "How could you do that to me?" Yada yada. So then she goes with the other guy basically on a rebound, and the other guy's like madly in love with her, but she keeps like
Toying around with him.
She was toying with him, and in a drunken stupor, she was talking about how hot and sexy the other guy was, and it's clear as day. Like Ray Charles could see it from space that she's still in love with the frat boy, or whatever you call it, with the frat boy, and the other guy is just kind of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up.
So it's a pretty sad commentary on that relationship. But I just think that she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be the bad guy, because I think a lot of times in breakups, like, people automatically want to, like, demonize.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, honey, but the thing is, like, that person, like, what you're talking about previously was sabotaging the relationship. So you're already, you know what I mean? Like,
my relationship? Yeah. Well, she wasn't worried about being the bad guy, I don't think. I just think that she just wanted to leave, and I would just say no. You know, and I would say no in the sense, like, I wouldn't participate in the leaving. And sometimes she would, you know, I'd wake up and she would literally be gone. Whether or not we had kids, she'd go. Like in Nightmare Before Christmas, you know, gone again.
I never saw that.
This guy had her in a tower, and the girl kept leaving because she was in love with Jack.
Oh no.
And he was like, gone again.
Oh no.
So it makes me sound really stalkerish, but it wasn't like I would track her down and lock her in her room. It would just be, you know, she would just leave, and I'd drive around and find her after a couple days, maybe a week, or sometimes.
Well, but she put herself in unsafe situations too.
Well,
so
I mean, she wasn't, you know, obviously she wasn't straight mentally, but she was always trying to sabotage the relationship. You know?
That does sound stalkerish, though.
Yeah, but I mean, we were married. You know what I mean?
You can pour out some of that stuff on.
A lot of the times we had kids at the time, so it was more than just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, so she would say things like, it's over, it's impossible, da 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 da, and you know, until finally I said, look, if this thing happens, da 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 da, then it'll be like. Because then it started involving the kids.
Right.
And I wasn't going to do the yo-yo thing with the kids. I was completely content with doing the yo-yo thing personally for the rest of my life. Like, I had settled in my mind that was going to happen. But then I wasn't going to do that with the kids. So, yeah, long story short, I was like, basically, the minute you tell the kids that you're doing that, like, that's it. And if you go, that's it. And sure enough, she, you know. Anyway, so that to me, like, when I looked at the song again from the context of that, it makes sense, right? Like, we lie and say it's too late for redemption. What is coming has begun, and the ending I won't live to see. So it's like, if you once both people in a relationship decide that it's irreparable and there's no way for either party to redeem themselves, then that's pretty much it. You know, and it can't be hell if there's no heaven. Meaning, you know. Then you go back and start revising history and saying, well, we never really got along anyway, which would be heaven, you know, the honeymoon period. And they're like, well, we never really got along like that anyway, and yada, yada, yada. So leaving you is not going to be hell because being with you is no heaven, basically. Oh, wow. I might be completely reading my whole situation into it, but the chorus was like almost verbatim. Wow. You know, and it's true, like, ending I won't live to see. There are a lot of times, like, in that relationship where I really didn't see my life outside of being with that person. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, people on the outside looking in, like, have no idea. They had no clue. But, like, I had no, I had no idea that I was even going to be able to, you know, I never had an idea that I could even, you know, it wasn't like, oh, she's gone, I'll kill myself. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I just could not imagine my life without, you know, it's like, you know, it was just weird. Like, it was just a big blank paper.
Well,
you know
I think sometimes that when you're in certain situations that are that critical, that it's hard to imagine what normal is outside of that.
Right.
So you're just so accustomed to that it's like, you know, I think that that's like a sign of trauma when you're kind of like in that state. But like, I think
trauma?
That, yeah, I think trauma. I think that there's things about you and ways that you react to certain things that I'm like, okay, that's as a result of the past. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think that if you can't see a healthy future for yourself and you're kind of just stuck in not really looking to a future, that's...
Well, when you're in a relationship like that, like, your whole life becomes about that person, especially, you know, considering the, you know, other, you know, extracurricular issues going on up here. Like, your entire life, like, it was even more than the kids. Like, I remember, you know, the kids would be like, why did you let this and this happen for so long? And yada, yada, yada. And, you know, it came to my attention that they were basically saying, like, you stayed with her even though she did this and this and this to us. Like, how could you let that, you know, how could you do that? Yada, yada. You know, and sometimes they were mad, sometimes they were, and I was just like, you know, you'll understand when you fall in love eventually, because, like, the whole thing was about her, and even the kids were subordinate to it, and it took some very extreme stuff that happened with the kids to where I was like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, like, but
even then, she was the one that had to cross that line.
Yeah. 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 And then, you know, malevolence and purgatory give you pause. It's a miracle you haven't broken any laws.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That's...
Actually, some laws were broken. Yeah. That's pretty... And purgatory is a really interesting thing too, because, like, you know, it's like
the concept of whether your good outweighs your bad.
Well, the middle place between heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Right, is generally the idea of purgatory, and it was like, purgatory can give you pause because because any horrible relationship or bad relationship, like, does have little islands of
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, and it goes, no, this could work, and that's what would happen. Like, years and years would go by, and like, well, we have this little nice, you know, thing here, so that's gonna undo the last 360 days of absolute hell you were in. Yeah. So when I and then, you know, you're so critical, darling, da 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 da, which is really interesting because if he's talking about she was always criticizing him, then that goes to our book, you know.
Well, maybe it was a triple.
We're reading this love and respect book, which you know, I'm starting to become less and less a fan of.
You're like, wait, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again.
I'm gonna have to give this a low rating.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm gonna finish the book. I don't know, but that was a big thing where he was talking about, you know, women desire love and men desire respect, and then the guy is bashing, well, not bashing, but really harping on women being critical, and he says like women are critical because they love you and want to help you and yada yada yada. That's what he's saying, but then he basically tells the women, stop being so critical.
Well, I mean, we know that. You'll be like, whenever I come up with ideas, you always have all these negative things to say about them.
I think that's different.
Why?
That's completely different.
How is that different?
Because I'm not saying that I'm upset personally about it. To me, that's a philosophical difference. Like, you know, we would be in a room in another life that I had, we'd be in a room and say, okay, we have this objective, we got to do this, this, and this. And then so, you know, you draw up a plan and say, okay, we're going to go here, you know, whatever. And then you always had somebody that would say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right? And that's okay because like people might die if you screw up, right? So it's like, okay, you know, but at some point you gotta tool up and go.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always going to be possibilities of something that could go wrong.
And then the other thing is like in business, like, you know, I'm more kind of big idea person in business. So you're more of like, how are we going to do it? So I'm like more Bernie, hey, Medicare for all. And you're more like, well, how are we going to pay for it? You know what I mean? Not with that. You're like, let's pay for anything for Medicare for all. By the way, it would be nice if your coworkers had Medicare for all now, huh? Like people going to work sick because they can't go to the doctor because they Interesting stuff. You know, I haven't heard much from the anti-vaxxers either.
They're like, come up with something.
Sadat. Correct. I really want to see how that turns out with these anti-vaxxers. You come up with some vaccine or whatever. I know I've got two people right now. I know exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna go like, this entire thing was designed so that we would have to take the vaccine.
Right.
All right, family.
Oh my gosh, that's so
funny. So many things I could say. No, so like I'm more like a big picture person, right? So it's like, hey, we could do this and this and this and this, and you're always like, well, this won't work, this won't work, this won't work. So I don't look at it as critical. I just look at it as like, man, we will never be able to do any big thing, like any big endeavor that's ever been done. Yeah, there could have been 9 million things that could go wrong, but what if the thing goes right? I don't take that like personally. It's just a philosophical issue that I have, because then if you go there, because to me, I'm like, okay, there's her fear talking. You know, and I'm not one of these people that like
you
lets
always
fear.
think that it's the fear, but I don't actually think that that's what it is. I've been thinking a lot about it recently, and I think that it's I like to complete stuff, and so if I see a hole in the game and I feel like we're gonna, you know, and this will be more of a conversation for offline, but if I don't feel like that we can fully deliver on the big picture expectation, and then I get feedback about that, I do not like that.
So you're
like,
afraid of getting that feedback?
No, I want to accomplish what we're going to accomplish. When I set out for a mission, I want to complete the mission.
That sounds like fair fairly.
When I say no, it's not. When I go for a walk or I go for a run and I say I'm going till that point, if I stop from like here to there before that point that I said, oh, it drives me crazy. Like, nope, I have to go around that point so I know it's completed.
Yeah.
You don't have an obsession with completion like I do. You'll be like,
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, my Unisom bottle's empty. Throw it over there. I'm like, complete that. Put it in the trash can.
Yeah.
So,
but
I feel like it
every time there's a new idea, you always have some way of saying, oh, that can't work. That can't
I'm not
work,
saying we shouldn't do it. I just want us to know all of our stuff, so we're like,
yeah. And what I'm saying is that's impossible. It's like And if anybody had that philosophy, we would have never done any of the massive inventions.
No, I think that you
look at the Wright brothers, for example, with the airplane.
What happens?
No, go ahead. Like the Wright brothers with the airplane. There's a lot of things a person could have said, well, that might not work, that might not work.
And then they crashed it the first time.
Right.
So maybe they wouldn't have crashed.
And then they adjusted.
Yeah.
And then boom.
Yeah.
And so that's my philosophy. Like, okay,
Crash
if something doesn't work, then adjust it and keep going, because the big idea...
I'm trying to avoid the crash and just soar.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with fear, though. And you want everything like lined up, all the variables lined up before we go.
I think that because of the type of person you are and the type of person I am, you can't appreciate that aspect of my personality because you don't understand it. So then you want to call it fear and make it look like it's something negative. And I disagree with you.
It's not that I don't understand.
I think that there are times where I operate in fear, but I don't think that that's the case with those things all the time.
Everything that you just described seemed to me to be about a fear of failure. But besides, whatever the root cause issue is, to me, the major issue is that anytime there's a really cool revolutionary idea, that means that there's a whole bunch of variables that could stop it. Mm-hmm. That's why nobody's done it before. So I'm like, well, of course there's going to be variables, but let's just do it and then see what happens. But to me, you want all the variables lined out. We figured everything out, so the first time we attempt it, it'll be perfect.
No,
and to me, it's like, no,
line up all the variables and hit the big ones, so that way we have a better chance when we first start.
But if it's a variable, you don't know what's going to happen. Those are all projections.
Yeah, but you know when you first start something what's like more likely to happen.
No, you don't. See, that's where we disagree. Like, for example, with the whole Patreon Alliance thing. You had all of these issues, and I was like, nah.
Well, yeah, but people have been saying, if this is too much work, which is what I initially said from the beginning.
What do you mean?
So I was trying to come up with a simpler way of accomplishing what you were doing, and I said, this is going to be way too much work.
If we would have done what you did, we wouldn't have had the Patreon Alliance.
I don't know what we would have done. We didn't talk about it long enough.
It wouldn't have happened, because you wanted to clear out every single variable that there was.
No.
You did.
No.
Okay, we'll disagree.
Stop recording.
Come in.
Come on. Hi, buddy.
Hey, Mr. Butt. How are you? Come in.
That is the most he's smiled in 2 days. Well, yesterday.
Come in.
Shoot, I wish it wouldn't have stopped recording.
How are you doing?
Hi.
Huh? Ya Rasulullah, come here. How are you doing?
That carrot picture was so cute.
Now we put it in a video.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you have fun with Grandma?
Back to our regular schedule program. Yeah, so anyway, the critical thing is not a personal thing, it's a philosophical thing.
The word philosophical always throws me off for some reason. I don't know why.
Meaning we have a different philosophy of how to get certain things
done.
done.
Absolutely.
I don't take that as you personally.
But you know what happens when you don't agree with my philosophy? Then I take it personally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like that you're saying that I'm a bad person for having my type of philosophy, which doesn't make any sense. Like, it's my philosophy. Right. If you don't like my philosophy, go kick rocks.
Right.
So it's just I've never actually been with people that actually confronted my philosophy, and if they confronted it so passively that I just disregarded them altogether. You're the first person that has actually confronted my philosophy, and I don't like it.
Well, but I think like the real thing is about, finding ways to not look at it as like contradictory instead of complementary, right? So like when you were asking, well, how are we going to manage these alliances? And I'm going to say, well, I'm certain that we have people that have great leadership, abilities and yada yada yada. We didn't know about Discord, and people were going to create Discords and underground channels.
Yeah.
We didn't know about Trello, and all those things got developed as we went on, and that's kind of my philosophy, is develop the situation.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about all these other variables. I just worry about the big idea. You're more like, well, like you said, how are we going to pay for it? And that's kind of like you take Bernie, for example, and he's on with Anderson Cooper, and Bernie's like, okay, so Medicare for all is $31 trillion, and then you've got, the health, you've got education and da-da-da-da. So what's the number there? And Bernie's like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like if he would have had you on the team to say, that's great, cover everybody, give teachers $60K, yada yada yada, how the hell are you going to pay for that? Mm-hmm. And if a person like me would say, "Who cares? We'll just figure it out when you get there." And you would be like, "Well, when you
No,
get to
I wanna
Anderson,
have a plan.
when you get to Anderson Cooper and you're one-on-one with Trump or you're one-on-one with Hillary, they're going to ask you that crap, and nobody's going to be like, "Yay, Bernie!" Like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like that's a complimentary sort of aspect of understanding it, where people like you would be villainized in those circles, because even to this day, like, you got a lot of Bernie people that get upset when you ask that question. Now, I get upset when you ask that question about healthcare because, Trump just gave a $1.9 trillion, 80% of which went to the rich 10%, and then he just did this Wall Street stimulus thing, which is another $2 trillion. And so anytime Republicans want to spend trillions on war or on bailing out major banks, nobody asks that question. So the healthcare question, it's $30 trillion over 10 years, like, I'm good with that. Like, I'm fine with that. The other stuff with, we're going to pay teachers $60K, we're going to... you work X amount of years, you get 20% of the, yada, yada, yada. I go, whoa,
Wait a
let's stop you right there. Stop
My
you
man
right
Bernie.
My man, so like the overall plan and the
Yeah.
reorganizing and restructuring of America, especially when you look at the minutia of the details of the Green New Deal, it's like, I don't know, bro.
He's not gonna want to leave, honey. You're just gonna have to be.
Just take him. Just take him. Just hold him.
He just wants to be with us. Why don't
Just
I
hold him.
Oh, okay, I'll take him. That's what I was saying.
Have him
I'm
for
like,
the
I should
rest
just
of the-
hold him.
Well, you don't have to be quiet. It's all good. They know you are. So yeah, that stuff. I go, okay, all right, that makes sense. So anyway, but I don't think he means critical in the sense that we're talking about. I think it's like she was critical of him.
Yeah, and
Which according to the book is like a very big thing. Like,
yeah,
dudes
it is
don't
a
want
big
their
thing.
wives to be critical
That
of
is
them.
a big thing, but it's very hard to know whether somebody's actually being, like, without knowing their actual situation. I don't know if she was being critical or if he was being a jerk, and so, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
you're getting one person's perspective, like, they're so critical.
I just think
but,
it's a stereotype that the nagging, critical, wife or whatever. I mean, you're not like that at all. I don't think you're personally critical of me at all. But I do think like that's a thing, like in relationships where the dude's complaining that the woman's critical or she's nagging all the time and yada yada yada.
Yeah, I think part of that is because a lot of guys, I think, are very soft.
I agree
so
with that.
They can't
I agree
take
with that.
a little bit of criticism.
They got a really, really fragile male ego, so
Yeah.
they can't deal with any
Yeah.
sort of criticism. Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, at the end of the day,
honest to goodness, I really think that because you have grown up black in America, that's what makes a difference for you. Like, I know that's going to make a lot of our people upset, but I really think that's a big thing.
Well,
I think you're used to stuff hasn't gone your way.
I was having a conversation with a dude yesterday, and I'm like, man, like, you're soft, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. Like,
And I find my reactions, look, what are you doing with this? I find my reactions, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't see a lot of black dudes complaining about girls. Well, no, that's not true. Like, there is a whole ghetto thing of like the angry black woman who always has a crazy attitude and never has anything good to say, which is why a lot of dudes end up with white girls.
oh my God. Man, this is going downhill
This
fast.
is going downhill very quickly.
Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe, you racist bastard, you. Everybody's racist. I don't care. No, you're right. So maybe you're so critical as a double entendre. You're right. Maybe it's she's critical to him because he can't see his life without her, but at the same time, she's just always has something negative for him. And it's really crazy when you're a guy like Corey Taylor, when you go out like every year and millions of people are like, "Oh, you're the greatest thing ever." People want to touch you. We were at the Slipknot concert. He was like touching people. People were going crazy. Oh my God, he touched him. I'm like,
They might not now.
He's not Jesus. Oh yeah. No, I think he always has gloves on, so
Yeah, but he's touching all the other people's hands. All the other maggots.
they won't care. They won't care. If we go to a show right now, people are, "Ah!"
Oh my gosh.
He'll
Oh my
spit
gosh.
on them. They don't care. Seriously. Yeah. I don't know. I guess ladies stop being so critical, but like it. See, I like it when
Men
you.
stop being so soft.
I like it though when you come to me and say, I don't like when you do this and that. I'm like, okay, now we can actually have an actual conversation. This is great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when we're watching that show and the guy was like, "Don't yell at me, blah, blah, blah," I'm like, because I've been around you and you're like, just say what you think. You know what I mean? Like, I feel so frustrated and like
It's
tied
very
up for that
frustrating.
girl.
It's very frustrating, especially that relationship, because the guy's so big, but he's so soft. Like, the girl can't say anything without him, like, turning into a puddle.
Honest to goodness,
What
she
did he
should
say?
get out of that
What did he
relationship.
say? You're bringing me down.
She
like,
honestly should get out of that
You're the
relationship.
man. Like, suck it up,
Yeah.
bruh.
She should get out of that relationship because she shouldn't marry him because the thing is,
There's
her,
no way
her
they're-
personality is loud and she wants to be able to fight and yell. She wants to, like that's in her.
Yeah, but like, you notice like she doesn't end up getting escalated. But what happens is like she'll bring something up. He shuts down after 2 seconds. Anything she says critical about him, he shuts down after 2 seconds. And then she starts panicking and raising her voice, and then he, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like she starts off yelling at the guy, but good lord. I don't know if it's growing up black or growing up with the mother that I had. Because the mother that I had, like, you could not be soft in our household.
Right.
Like, you know, like,
Right.
it's just, you just can't be soft. But anyway, so anyway, what do you give the song?
8.8.
I don't know. This is a 9.3-ish for me. I think it's a 9.3. Signature Slipknot. So I think it's very hard to make a signature sound without sounding completely repetitive over and over again. I think there are very, very few bands that have mastered that. I think Tool is probably the best band at that, where it's like, oh, that's Tool. But they still,
it's still fresh.
They still evolve sonically every record.
Yep.
But Slipknot is another one of those bands where it's like, oh, that's a signature Slipknot sound, and you really, I think people try to avoid copying them because the minute that you try to copy them, people can identify that crap immediately.
Totally agree.
Immediately.
Well, shout out to all the maggots out there.
Shout out to all the maggots and the soft dudes who can't take any criticism.
Oh no.
And shout out to the dream squashers who are always trying to figure out every little way that something can go wrong so that nobody does anything like revolutionary in the world. Oh, Mr. Washington, we can't go to war with the British. I mean,
I don't believe you should fly that kite with a key attached to it.
Yeah. Look at all the problems that could happen. Let's just not do anything, Orion. Let's just sit there and just do what we've always done before. All right, Orion, what do you give the song? Oh, you smell so good. All right,
Hey.
there you are, dear listener.
Vin out.
Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Ryan's gone.
Bye, Mr. Butt.
Stay safe from the coronavirus.
Stay safe.
And get your toilet paper.
Hey, don't cough. He laughed at the toilet paper.
All right, shut that off.